Systemic brutalization and subjugation by the armed forces of La République du Cameroon have been carried out indiscriminately, characterized by wanton arrests, rape, enforced disappearances, and a scorched earth policy that has seen the razing of entire villages to the ground.
And I want to say to our people, you see all this complaining? This is another group emerging right now. Okay, Ayabacho, they have failed. Chris Anu has failed. Sako has failed. Now we are the new ones now to continue your subjugation. And I just want to make this very clear to every Anglophone. Watch out for any individual from the diaspora that is above the age of 40 with the rhetoric of 1961 and Ambazonia. If you love your life, you want to stay alive, watch out, because this is the next movement emerging right now. And I want to be able to bring that to your attention, because they've started making soft speeches right now to stir up your emotions. That is their system. It's so predictable. That is one thing that baffles me about our people. And that's why they don't understand me. You understand what I'm saying? They don't get it, because I'm thinking. I'm using my brain, which is what God gave us. They are so predictable. The same thing. One day your children and your great-grandchildren will rise up and watch the videos that I'm putting on this platform, and they will judge you based on this. The decisions you're making right now, I mean, honestly, the decisions you're making right now and continue to do so, and maybe some of you ignoring what I'm saying here or fighting me, your children will rise up someday, because there is some reasoning right now that cannot cross your mind. But I hope that you find light. 100 years from now, your children will look at these videos and also look at the decisions that you made. And I was putting up these videos, and they will ask questions. Dad, what were you thinking? This is the thing. You give birth to children so that they can grow, do, know, and be better than you. When those children go to school and they learn, they've experienced the world, they know better than you, and they are trying to help fix a situation in the house. They say, no, Dad, we don't use this kind of phone anymore. This is the kind of phone you use. This is how you use a computer, and they want to teach you this is the best way to connect with the world. No, you're too young. You don't know. Oh, this old phone that we used to use. This way of writing letters and mailing them is the way we used to use. I mean, like you see what I'm saying? No, you're young. You don't know. This is what we have been using, and we are used to it, and we'll keep using it. Even in the dispensation where there's YouTube, there are smartphones, there are smart computers, you want to stay with your old system. And that is why your stories are fascinating to me, that you want to stay with the 1961 story, and you don't see anything wrong with that. So Anglophones, Cameroonians, I'm encouraging you to wake up. Any individual in the diaspora with 1961 and Ambazonian rhetoric, run away from them. Detach yourself from them. Run away from them like you're running away from COVID-19.
Even the elderly, women and children as the main victims. This period has also witnessed the deliberate targeting of our youth.
They were talking about power camp. They were talking about the agricultural board. Now today they've picked up new rhetoric. They've kidnapped us. They are raping our wives. You see that they've picked up new rhetoric of victimization. They are so predictable. That is what baffles me. Can you guys be a little bit mysterious, that at least our people can understand that you guys are thinking? Different faces, same rhetoric. Different faces, same agenda. Different faces, the same schemes and the same language. Change. It's a shame that the entire Anglophone zone have everyone thinking like this in the same direction. No one is reasoning. And when they show up like this, they think they've said something new. The same thing. The same thing, for crying out loud. What? Hello, friends. Welcome to another fascinating analysis. Today, we are going to be breaking down the common law system versus the civil law system. You've probably heard that the reason why we are fighting right now for 7 to 8 years was because the teachers and the lawyers went on the street marching. The lawyers in particular demanding a return to the common law system compared to the civil law, which our French counterparts do practice. And you probably heard this and you don't understand what that means. And maybe you don't even understand where the fighting is going right now. And today you're going to gain clarity as to what the next group are planning to do so that you can stay alert, be able to recalibrate yourself and make some wise decisions and take your destiny into your hands. With that being said, let's dive straight into the video.
Fellow citizens of our homeland, I greet you. As we enter the 8th year of our liberation struggle, we reflect on the immense difficulties and suffering our people, especially those on the home front, have had to endure. This has been the fate of our people for the past 63 years, since 1961, when soldiers of La République du Cameroon walked into our native land and introduced the practice of brutality and subjugation. However, since 2016, when the lawyers' demand for a return to the common law system and their decision to demonstrate peacefully was met with brute force and mass arrests, the world has witnessed a systemic escalation of violence against our people, which...
Okay, I want to stop right there and break down for you the difference between the common law and the civil law. Before I do that, I want to underscore the very fact that our people detest Britain for having sold them to French-speaking Cameroonians or sold them to France. Our people are angry because Britain has not yet come to their aid. Our people are angry because they think they would have had their independence as a separate entity, but Britain did not provide for them that opportunity. I want that to be clearly underscored. This common law system they are talking about is a heritage from the colonial master, Britain, that they detest. I want you to be able to make some sense of this entire Ambazonian crisis so that you can have clarity for yourself. It is very important. When they are talking about the common law and the civil law, see, friends, law should not be shifting, changing. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, law should be static. It's like the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. It is static. And that is what civil law looks like. It's a code. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. We know what that means. Now, when it comes to the common law, it is not predictable. That is, for instance, say somebody come seize your land. That individual can win that case in court easily with a common law system than they will under a civil law system. And some of you probably lost your properties, lost some cases because of the common law system. And let me break that down. Hypothetically, say you are married to your husband and you guys are in love. And the courts know that you are married. Because why? You have a marriage certificate. Now, in a case where your husband dies, and you go to court and like, okay, I want to be able to have jurisdiction over my husband's property. And then all of a sudden, a letter shows up maybe from your husband's lawyer. And it says your husband willed his property to the girlfriend. Under the common law system, that girlfriend, that side chick, has jurisdiction, has power over your property, has power over your husband's property. That is what the common law looks like. But under the civil law, if you are married to this man, and the courts know that, if your husband passes away, you automatically have control over his property. Another hypothetical example. Let's imagine that I'm walking around your house and a brick from the zinc hit my head. And then I looked around and I'm like, who is the owner of this house? And I take you to court. While in court, under the common law system, the judge will go into their case file and look for a similar story. Maybe it was a branch of tree that left that rooftop and hit somebody's head, or maybe fell on somebody's car. And then he is going to arrive at a verdict based on that example. Under the civil law system, there are codes written to judge a case of that magnitude. So with that, it is easy for the judge to arrive at a fair verdict because of those codes based on civil law. And my question to you is, when you take a listen to these two legal frameworks, which do you think is better? Obviously, the civil law is much more better than the common law. These are some fundamental aspects of our society, especially when it has to do with the legal system, that we need to understand. Because if you look at most of the countries that practice the common law, America is one of them. UK is one of them. It is easy for someone to come to court, use logic, and win you. If they have money, have a good lawyer, they can be able to win a case. And they will get you prosecuted for something maybe you did not do. If they have a good lawyer that can argue so well. So which is fair to you? I think the civil law. Because with the civil law, it is easy for the judgment to be made. Why? Because there are codes that they can look at and say, if a stone falls from your rooftop and hits me, this is the penalty. That is basically what the common law looks like and what the civil law looks like. And I want you to look at this from three perspectives, right? Three perspectives. Number one, accessibility. It is easy for you to access the civil law codes. It's available for the public to educate themselves about the legal system which they live under. But with the common law system, it is unpredictable. And this is what your lawyers went on the street marching for, so that you can be under that system. What did they tell you? They say, no, the Francophone lawyers are coming to their system, or the Francophone magistrates are coming over and ruling over their system. And so they don't want that. And that is what they put before you. They don't present to you the pros and the cons of this common law system, the pros and the cons of the civil law system. And that is why I thought I'd take this time and explain to you the distinction, the differences between the common law system and the civil law system. Now, it is not easy to access the common law codes, because there's no code. It's all based on the judge. It's based on the lawyers and the arguments and the jury and all of that. Now, number 2 is consistency. With the civil law system is consistent. So legal fees are cheap under a civil law system. And if some of them think maybe, oh, he's young, he doesn't know what he's talking about. If they think for 1 minute that I'm not telling the truth, let them disprove me, and you do your own research on the common law system and the civil law system. The civil law system is like God. It's code. It works every time. So the second point that we are going to be looking at is consistency. A civil law system is, in general, more logically consistent than a common law system. You understand what I'm saying? That is, the same verdict that you can arrive at with a similar case, maybe a land dispute, or maybe it's a trial case, whatever that case is, the same verdict that you can arrive at based on that case in Douala will be the same verdict in Boya. That is how easy the civil law system is. Our people have used all this marginalization rhetoric, occupation rhetoric, to confuse you from the reality of what we are dealing with. The pain that Anglophones have gone through in this nation is because of our elites. These leaders that emerge in our community have gone to school, have some doctorate behind their names, twisting facts, like Gorjin Dinka, twisting facts and creating a narrative that has subjugated our people. When I say the behavior of the Anglophones is the cause of the Anglophone crisis, some people say, but what do you mean? And I'm like, then you don't understand what human nature is. You, as an individual, treat people based on how they relate towards you. If people relate towards you positively, they are caring, they are loving, you are inclined to help them more. You're inclined to do right by them. But if people show animosity, doubt, fear, confusion, no trust, guess what? The inclination towards those individuals will be different. This is basic human nature. They only want to put it at the level of the government. Even with God, there is always a command and there is always a reward. If you obey my laws, I will bless you. The country has a law. The country has a constitution. It is written in that constitution that any attempt, any movement, any ideology that threatens the unity of this nation is not acceptable. Do you know when SCNC was found? Long time ago. Do you think that movement alone is enough reason for the Anglophone people to go through pain in this nation? Obviously. They don't tell you this. They want to say 100% of the problem comes from French-speaking Cameroonians. And that is why I'm rising up to shake us up a little bit and have us look at our own side. The division among us. Always trying to challenge. Always trying to prove a point. We are strong. We want to defend. We want to fight the government. All this energy will lead to pain and suffering. These stories are well documented. Every minority group in any nation of earth, any nation on earth where you find minorities that are opposing the government, they always struggle. It is a fact. Paul Biya is not the first one to do this. Aijo is not the first one to do this. It happens everywhere, including right here in the United States of America. If you are a minority or you are a member of a group that is against the state, there is a high tendency that you will struggle in that nation. So I just thought I'd break down what the common law looks like and what the civil law looks like in a brief explanation so that you can understand these concepts and not be confused, because they make it too abstract. And they will sit there and they say they have a doctorate and they'll go on and on. But that's just simply what the common law looks like and what the civil law looks like. And the last point is predictability. Laws should be predictable. And that is why when I look at the common law compared to the civil law, I'll go with the civil law every day, every time. And you should too. You should be treated fairly when you go to court. And so you should know what you are getting into. You should know what to expect when you go to court. With the common law, you don't know what to expect when you get to court. Because if a smart lawyer comes up and twist words, that is why you see Gojin Tinka look at the name change. Guess what? He took that and twisted it a little bit. That's what common law looks like. Remember, he studied in Britain. He studied law in Britain. And so they have been trained on how to play with words and have them mean something that is not actually what it is. You see what I'm saying? And that is how I've been able to diagnose these problems that we are dealing with. Looking at the individuals that came up with the idea, what were they thinking? What is their profession? How did they arrive at this conclusion? Because Gojin Dinka studied common law in Britain. Is all about how you can argue. That is why if you look at the SENC, they say what the argument of force, the force of argument, whatever that means. You get the point. It is all about persuasion, how you're able to argue. But his logic on cessation is very flawed. I don't know how people take this and they want to build a case on it. That logic is so flawed. It's so premature. Every international organization look at it and like, doesn't really make sense. It doesn't add up. So with the common law system, it is not predictable. But with the civil law, a civil law system is better protected against errant ruling, errors, erroneous ruling. That is what the civil law will protect you from. People that will jump on board and subjugate you in pain and you don't understand what they are saying because they know how to argue and use legal jargons. And that is what this lawyer has done to the Anglophone people. One person can rise up and manipulate a whole nation. Manipulate and cause confusion and division. And that is the pain the Anglophones are going through. Let's take a listen.
Continues to this day. This systemic brutalization and subjugation by the armed forces of La République du Cameroon have been carried out indiscriminately, characterized by wanton arrests, rape, enforced disappearances, and a scorched earth policy that has seen the razing of entire villages to the ground.
And I want to say to our people, you see all this complaining? This is another group emerging right now. Like, okay, Ayabacho, they have failed. Chris Anu has failed. Sako has failed. Now we are the new ones now to continue your subjugation. And I just want to make this very clear to every Anglophone. Watch out for any individual from the diaspora that is above the age of 40 with the rhetoric of 1961 and Ambazonia. If you love your life, you want to stay alive, watch out, because this is the next movement emerging right now. And I want to be able to bring that to your attention, because they've started making soft speeches right now to stir up your emotions. That is their system. It's so predictable. That is one thing that baffles me about our people. And that's why they don't understand me. You understand what I'm saying? They don't get it, because I'm thinking. I'm using my brain, which is what God gave us. They are so predictable. The same thing. And I'm letting you know, when will you emerge and take some responsibility? And not just play around it. and say, oh, I know we've done some wrong. No, what wrong did you do? Outline it, just like when you outline the wrongs of the La Republic. Tell us what you have done wrong, right? You just play around it, and then you focus on the assumed enemy. This is your people, Anglophones. One day, your children and your great-grandchildren will rise up and watch the videos that I'm putting on this platform. And they will judge you based on this. The decisions you're making right now, honestly, the decisions you're making right now and continue to do so, and maybe some of you ignoring what I'm saying here or fighting me, your children will rise up someday, because there is some reasoning right now that cannot cross your mind. But I hope that you find light. 100 years from now, your children will look at these videos and also look at the decisions that you made when I was putting up these videos. And they will ask questions. Dad, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? Where did you get to? That your mind was so dark that you could not even see. That is what your children and your great-grandchildren will rise up someday and watch these videos. That is why I like YouTube. Because someday your children will rise up and watch this and see your errors right before their face. Because this is the thing. You give birth to children so that they can grow, do, know, and be better than you. When those children go to school and they learn, they've experienced the world, they know better than you, and they are trying to help fix a situation in the house, and say, no, Dad, we don't use this kind of phone anymore. This is the kind of phone you use. This is how you use a computer, and they want to teach you this is the best way to connect with the world. No, you're too young. You don't know. Oh, this old phone that we used to use. This way of writing letters and mailing them is the way we used to use. I mean, like you see what I'm saying? No, you're young. You don't know. This is what we have been using, and we are used to it, and we'll keep using it. Even in the dispensation where there's YouTube, there are smartphones, there are smart computers, you want to stay with your old system. And that is why your stories are fascinating to me, that you want to stay with the 1961 story, and you don't see anything wrong with that. So Anglophones, Cameroonians, I'm encouraging you to wake up. Any individual in the diaspora with 1961 and Ambazonian rhetoric, run away from them. Detach yourself from them. Run away from them like you're running away from COVID-19.
Even the elderly, women and children as the main victims. This period has also witnessed the deliberate targeting of our youth.
They were talking about power calm. They were talking about the agricultural board. Now today they've picked up new rhetoric. They've kidnapped us. They are raping our wives. You see, they've picked up new rhetoric of victimization. They are so predictable. That is what baffles me. Can you guys be a little bit mysterious, that at least our people can understand that you guys are thinking? Different faces, same rhetoric. Different faces, same agenda. Different faces, the same schemes and the same language. Change. It's a shame that the entire Anglophone zone have everyone thinking like this in the same direction. No one is reasoning. And when they show up like this, they think they've said something new. The same thing. The same thing, for crying out loud. What is new about what you're doing? What is really new about what you're saying? This is ludicrous.
Especially young men between the ages of 16 to 35, who have been abducted, incarcerated, and in some cases disappeared. This situation has produced mass displacement with close to 1 million refugees and asylum seekers. Some of our leaders have been unjustly arrested, subjected to sham trials, and kept in inhumane jail conditions. Throughout these harrowing years, and in spite of the unbearable difficulties, our courageous men and women have stood strong and defiant against a regime that had dismissed us as mere 3 cubes of sugar in a bowl of water.
They always will measure on the minor and minor on the measure. If they call you 2 cubes of sugar, I heard it was 2 cubes, now it's 3 cubes. I don't know how many cubes, but they always measure on the minor. Smart people don't do this. Even if someone insults me and say I'm just 2 cubes of sugar, is that enough reason to have all these numbers of people displaced around the world and all these young people lose their lives? This is a petty ego. I'm not moved. Whatever you think, that's why you guys throw insults here. If I had to take the insults and the treatment that I've had from you guys, I'll quit. Doesn't move me. You don't define me by what you say or what you think about me. I know who I am, right? People who are suffering from inferiority complex, people who don't have a sense of identity, they take offense over 2 cubes of sugar and they go fight and kill one another, destroy their own people, kidnap them for ransom, have the diaspora hostage, confuse young people not to go to school, and you leave them at home and you recruit young people as young as 14 and they are having guns on the streets. It's insane. It's a shame that you are doing this to your own people. And your guys are emerging again. Another group emerging again with the same language. It's a shame. Get tired. Get tired.
Despite the overwhelming odds, we have managed to organize ourselves, though not without our own mistakes.
You have managed to organize yourselves? Really? Anglophone people, if anyone emerges and say you've tried to organize yourself, just note they are full of lies. Listen to what I just said.
Have sometimes led to deadly internal conflict and infighting, which have slowed down the course of our liberation struggle. Today, we stand at a critical crossroads.
You see how they always just brush their own mistakes? Oh, we know we've made some mistakes, a little bit of infighting, and we just caused some mistakes. If it's that of our French counterparts, our brothers that speak French, they will stay on. Look at the length of the speech and how long he has stayed on what the Republic did, the government did. But when it comes to theirs, it's 10 seconds. They're gone. That is the strategy of victims.
Of our struggle. And it is imperative that we take stock and chart a clear path forward. In this context, the Southern Cameroons Alliance is conducting a crucial survey entitled The State of the Liberation Struggle After 7 Years of Resistance.
What? They're coming up with another movement, the Southern Cameroon Alliance. I thought it was Ambazonia. What is going on? What is really going on? Anglophones, it's time for you to understand that in this generation, you have to prioritize personal interest, national interest, and dissolve group interest. I repeat, the strategy is very easy. Nationalism, individualism, and nationalism. Full stop. Your nation, Cameroon, is more bigger than the Anglophone zone. Anglophone is a subset of Cameroon. French-speaking Cameroonians are a subset of Cameroon. Ambazonia is a subset of the Anglophones. It's a group within the Anglophone zone. That should be clearly underscored. And I'm saying this to say, this is time where you look out for your life first, your family first, and then secondly, your nation. group, village, whatever, this should not be your priority at all, because these groups will always have leaders like this from these groups that will mislead you and screw you up. They have done it again and again. I'm just so surprised how Anglophones don't pick this. Muna did this. Most of the Anglophone leaders, they did this before to you guys. Your parents didn't tell you the story. They are always divisive and they will mislead you. This is historical. And the way you dissolve this thing is perfect integration. Cut away from all of this Anglophone crap. You insult Britain, now you want to uphold their heritage. Doesn't make sense. You think Britain is a problem, now you want the Anglo-Saxon culture. Isn't that confusing? Right? You have all sorts of reasons why you think Britain is a terrible idea, and then all of a sudden you want to uphold the Anglo-Saxon culture. It doesn't make sense. Cut away from all those guys. I mean, focus on your life. Those who have traveled to Douala, Yaoundé, and out of the country, that was a good step. Walk away. If you know your life means something, move. Move. Move to the Francophone zone. We need perfect integration at this point. And when you go there, buy a piece of land, build a house, and never return. You only visit when it's convenient. That is how we completely get out of the hands of individuals like this. Completely get out of the hands of individuals like this. When there is perfect integration, guess what happens? That is why they've been begging you on other platforms. Oh, come back to Bamenda, come back to Southwest. No, they are not coming back. They are having a good life in Yaoundé, in Douala. They built their houses, started businesses. They are serving the community, and they are doing just fine. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. This is what we would have done long time ago. But all things work together for the good. This crisis, we will try as much as possible to see something good out of it. What has happened is integration. Any smart Anglophone that has sense and understand that their life means something, they've walked out. And that was a smart decision. And that is what you should do if you're watching this video. Go somewhere where you'll be valued. And not hang around folks that will be looking for a way to kill you the next day. And very soon you become a target of some kidnap, or maybe a stray bullet hits you. Perfect integration. There is Betwa, Adamawa. There are many places in the Francophone zone. There's enough land over there. Integrate. If you're a Francophone and you like to come over, come over. I know some places are not safe, but this is time for us to integrate perfectly. We'll have a beautiful nation through this strategy. All the tribes, right? This Anglophone is going to subjugate you. And it has done that for the past 63 years. And some of them don't even understand what is happening in their own psychic. It's a primate thing, right? It is right in their primitive thinking. They came with it. They were born in it. And some of these things is too complex for them to understand human evolution. When people have crossed 40, it is hard for them to change their mind or think or accept new ideas. It is hard. So listening to them is like listening to a song, because it's going to come out. Same thing, right? You see what I'm saying? Garbage in, garbage out. What is inside, that's only what will come out. I can sit with any Anglophone elite who's above the age of 40 with the 1961 and Ambazonia Rhetoric and tell you everything that will come out of their mouth, what for what. And in that conversation, it will be the same thing. It has been the same. All of them that they have been calling me is the same thing. They will say it and think that they say something different. When they blame the government, and when you prop into that and show them how maybe, the Amber Boys maybe made some mistakes, or the Amber Boys kidnapped for ransom, or the Amber Boys killed your relative. When you bring that out in the open, The next thing is they will tell you, oh, we are all struggling because of Britain and France. Immediately they go to the colonial masters. They are very predictable. I can tell you what they will say verbatim. I don't care how you think smart they are or how you think maybe about them. But one thing I can guarantee you, they are so predictable that is annoying to even think about it. They are very predictable. The ones that are smart above the age of 40, guess what? If you've not conditioned yourself to have what I call a growth mindset, and you have a fixed mindset, of which most of them have a fixed mindset, there is no hope to change. And listening to them, you're screwing up your own destiny. Even if they shut your mouth, it's time for you to speak up. They cannot kill all of you and be free from this tyranny, because more groups will keep coming up with different ideas just to make sure that they put you guys in check. And you are there thinking that they care about you, of which they don't. Right?
This survey seeks to capture the voices and the sentiments of stakeholders in the southern Cameroon's Ambazonia liberation struggle, to assess the progress we have made and to determine the future direction of our movement. This survey is designed to ask tough but necessary questions that will help us understand the true impact of the struggle on our people. Whether
the impact is very evident. It is catastrophic. Thousands of people have died. You don't need a survey for this. It is evident. You can see it everywhere. More than 80% of the people say they don't want anymore. They don't want this. You don't need a survey for this, sir. The people do not want this anymore. They are being held hostage. They want freedom. They want peace. Some of them cannot speak. It is a sad thing that you can do this to your own people and you're emerging to start up another game. No, we are tired of you guys. Leave our people alone. Leave Anglophones alone. Leave us alone. We are tired of hearing one academician, one rhetorician. We are tired of hearing you guys. Leave our people alone. Leave our people alone. I don't know how you will live in America or Europe for 30 years and still keep saying that La République has treated you poorly. How? When you live in America or you live in Europe? I mean, does this even make sense? Does it? I don't get it. Is it the government of those nations that subjugated you or made you second-class citizens? How come you care too much about the people back home that you can assume a victimhood status and said you have been made a second-class citizen? You are in a nation where maybe you already have maybe a citizenship of that nation. And here you are talking about being a second-class citizen in Cameroon. Are you in Cameroon? You're in the diaspora. You've been out for more than 20 years. What happened to you? How come you say assume a victimhood status under the government of Cameroon? Guys, are you understanding what I'm saying? This is what your own people are doing to you. They are trying to act like they're interpreting your pain. They don't have the skill. They don't have the expertise to help resolve your problems. They will not go out, study, come back with businesses, establish businesses, and help develop the community. They come back with pain. Left-leaning ideologues, radical left ideologues, victims. It is $1 trillion industry to be a victim today. People are proud to even say they are victims. It's a terrible idea. It's pathetic. Yeah, when you open your mouth to say you're really a victim, that is really, really terrible. I will never teach my children to get up someday and assume a victimhood status. They should always understand that they can make a way where there seems to be no way. They can come out of any situation that they find themselves in and never assume a status of victim. That is what you have done to your people. We are not victims. Anglophones are not victims. We are not victims of anyone. Whatever is going on, we walk our way through it. We do not assume that status. You are a victim. A victim of your own thinking. That is what you guys are. Leave us alone. You're in the diaspora. Go ahead and live your life. Leave the people alone. You don't need a survey for that. Just leave them alone. All right. If you like this video, you're going to like this other episode, and you can watch it by clicking right here.